Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to our Photo Gallery talk series. I'm Pamela Waldrop. I'm president of our photographic collective at Photo Gallery. We are very excited that you are part of our 16th National Photography Competition exhibition. I am particularly intrigued by your image, Disidentifications. So love to hear more about it.
Sure, absolutely. So this image, Disidentifications, is from a series. And the whole body of work, just like a quick overview, is the series of absurd, unusual, and playful portraits of queer individuals that are really meant to evoke the uncanny, humor, and curiosity. And this particular image, I like to think as this was a big turning point in this series where I was really thinking about this concept of disidentifications and how it can apply visually. So one of the things I like to say about this photo is it would be very unusual to walk into this room and see the scene laid out before you, but it is not completely out of the realm of possibility. Like, I didn't completely fabricate an image or use a lot of Photoshop and manipulation to make a very absurd, weird image out of the realm of possibility. It's still, what is referred to as like straight photography, where it's just this unmanipulated, normal photo, exactly how you see it in real life. So that is like a key element that started running through this body of work, where it's these things that are slightly removed from reality, without being completely fantasy. So they kind of exist in this liminal space between reality and fantasy, which I was thinking about how that really relates to this idea of disidentifications, which is this term described by queer theorist Jose Esteban Munoz to describe how when faced with a dominant ideology, you can either identify with it or counter-identify with it, which is kind of this like binary of being like, with it or like pushing against it. Whereas disidentifications is just kind of like recycling the materials of it to build something new and kind of construct a new identity that works and is able to help you navigate, a majoritarian space, pretty much. So I was thinking of in many of the photos, there is a queer person who is in some sort of environment with doing some kind of weird action or with some sort of weird item. And so I'm kind of thinking about how like I'm piecing these different things together that exist and are real, and putting them together in the real world as well. But in a very unusual context. For example, someone drinking a milkshake while sitting on the toilet is something that, isn't really something that normally happens. And then a lot of since this is like really about like queer identity, a lot of these objects and actions and materials refer to some sort of aspect about queer identity or sexual identity, gender identity, something like that. And without another aspect is without providing a concrete narrative. Like it's not really meant to be social documentation. It's not supposed to be like a candid look into these people's lives, saying like, okay, here's an image of this person, I'm telling this person's story. It's more kind of just it's more removed from that and more ambiguous and kind of just these vague suggestions of different elements of identity and queerness and reality, fantasy, and all of that as well.
I love the way that you're juxtaposing the image with the various ways that you're presenting your concept. And I know you had mentioned to me that this is part of a larger series. If you have that, I'd love to hear more about it if you'd like to share that with us.
Sure, absolutely. So yeah, as I mentioned, this is part of a series. The whole series is called Disidentifications. The individual images I don't title for that same sort of reason of leaving them kind of like vague and ambiguous. And so like I said, it's kind of this theory of disidentification and kind of, you know, recycling something new for yourself. It really started when I moved to New York City from a small city of Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And I kind of had this idea built up in my head that I was moving to this like queer utopia. You know, like it's like, oh, you're gonna make so many gay friends, and you're gonna get a boyfriend in no time and find the love of your life, and everything's gonna be amazing. And then I was frustrated to realize that there's still like a lot of these problems and a lot of these like power dynamics and hierarchies and exclusionary practices that happen in specifically among gay men communities, like being able to exclude someone based on their race or body type or anything like that under the guise of like a preference, like saying, oh, it's just my preference. You know, I'm just going to totally say I don't like this entire group of people because it's just what I prefer. And it's like, well, that's you really can't do that. And because the gay male community here is so large, this can kind of happen and can get like it can happen a little bit more. And I was feeling really frustrated with that. So I actually started with a series of self-portraits, which I can share a few of those here. These kind of attitudes and practices were really affecting and manipulating my identity. So in this photo, on the phone that is like really haphazardly attached to my face, open is the app Grindr, which is an app that gay men use to meet other gay men that are close by, most often for casual sex. And I was kind of thinking about how a lot of these exclusionary practices really run wild on this app. For example, it's not an uncommon occurrence to see someone's bio say, no femmes, no fats, no Asians, no blacks, you know, just as if they're like listing like, you know, just like foods they're allergic to that, you know, they must avoid or something like that. And so I was really thinking about how that was kind of getting in the way and affecting and manipulating my identity, which led to me kind of exploring this a little bit more through a bunch of self-portraiture, where I was applying a bunch of these different objects and materials to my face, once again, that kind of started to symbolize different parts of gender and sexual identity.
Just a little retake. Thank you so much for sharing your backstory. For myself as a photographer, I find it really valuable. I think it influences my perceptions a little bit, and maybe a better word is enriches. I love that. But thank you so much for being part of our exhibition and for sharing everything that you did about your work.
Yeah, thank you so much for putting this exhibition together, and thank you for including me. It's been a great opportunity.